This video was brought to you by my beautiful Patreon community and my YouTube channel members. Thank you so much. You know that I only like to cover Watchtower studies when they're especially culty, and well, this is one of those times. This is the April 2025 edition of the Watchtower, and it's a masterclass in manipulation. So let's get into it. The first article is titled, "Choose for yourselves whom you will serve." We haven't even started and the slavery language is on full display. Choose your master, Jehovah or Satan. Those are your only two options, and if you refuse to pick one, you are automatically siding with the devil. Paragraph 1 gives us the key to genuine happiness.
Our Heavenly Father loves us deeply, and He wants us to enjoy life now and in the future. He created us with some outstanding talents, but He did not give us the ability to be successful at ruling ourselves or at setting our own criteria of right and wrong. He knows that in order for us to be genuinely happy, we must serve Him and live by His standards.
Apparently, if you don't serve Jehovah under His one chosen religion, then you're not genuinely happy. They quote a verse from Isaiah, so it must be true.
As the Creator and the Sovereign of the universe, Jehovah could force people to serve Him. However, Jehovah will never do that. Instead, He provides us with evidence that He exists and that He loves each one of us dearly. He wants as many people as possible to be His friends forever.
Is the evidence of Jehovah's existence in the room with us? Because I can't see it. And I can't see evidence of His love in the world either, since it seems He never actually intervenes when someone calls out for help. And paragraph 9 treats not believing in Jehovah as a conscious choice that people make.
Jehovah's remarkable love is evident in the way He treats those who choose to ignore His existence. Consider these facts. Throughout history, billions of people have chosen to live by their own standards of right and wrong. Even so, Jehovah has kindly given them what they need to sustain their life and enjoy it. He has given them the capacity to have loving relationships, to raise a family, and to reap the rewards of their hard work.
The evidence clearly shows
that our Heavenly Father loves all humans.
Well, I never chose to ignore the existence of Jehovah. I simply started disbelieving in Him due to lack of evidence, and I haven't been presented with evidence that convinces me that He exists. Watchtower imagines atheists just waked up one day and said, "Oh yeah, I know that God exists, but I'm just gonna pretend like He doesn't because I love to sin or something." And you know who are the worst sinners of all? Apostates.
We're going to discuss two of the subtle means Satan uses to weaken our faith: apostasy and negative reports about Jehovah's Witnesses in the media.
Acts 20:30 says that apostates speak twisted things. They do this in order to draw God's sheep away and make them followers of themselves.
And Watchtower gives us a really silly picture of apostates outside the convention with signs that say yes to blood, as if blood donations were a creation of Satan, and some posters with the JCPfoh and Watchtower logos crossed out. This is just a dumb caricature. Apostates that rally outside conventions are usually not shouting at passerbys. They are just chilling on the side, holding signs that point to real issues in the religion, like their massive mishandling of CSA. But of course, Watchtower wants to visualize apostates as these bitter and predatory individuals. So this non-JW lady passes by these crazy apostates, and since none of their signs provide anything of substance, she stumbles upon some kind JW lady who clarifies everything by using publications produced by the Watchtower. The image description reads, "After a woman hears her opposers outside a convention venue, she approaches a literature cart and hears words of truth." But what are the opposers claiming? Who knows? What are the words of truth that the JW lady is sharing? Your guess is as good as mine. Watchtower never tells us. You know that Watchtower never actually publishes the claims of apostates. All they do is present arguments for what they imagine apostates are saying, and then just tell their followers to ignore anyone that speaks negatively about the religion. I made several videos on this already. The Watchtower categorizes all negative reports as lies from Satan, regardless of how true they actually are. And it seems they're still following the same playbook. Silly ass picture. I think we should turn the yes blood sign into like an actual ExJW icon. That would be pretty funny. But the stupidity doesn't end there, because we get the life experience of Julia, a young music prodigy who was studying in a renowned academy. Which one? Who knows? That is, until she started learning about Jehovah.
If we make serving Jehovah our main focus, we can have a rewarding life now and in the future. Consider the experience of a sister named Julia. Before learning the truth, Julia sang in a church choir from the time she was a young girl. A professional opera singer recognized her talent and trained her. Julia soon gained a reputation as a prodigy and performed in prestigious music halls. While she was attending a famous music school, a classmate started talking to her about God and explained that God has a name, Jehovah. Before long, Julia began studying the Bible twice a week. Eventually, she decided to focus her life on serving Jehovah instead of on pursuing a music career. That decision wasn't easy. Many people told me that I was wasting my gift, she says, but I wanted to use my life fully to serve Jehovah. How does she feel today about that choice she made more than 30 years ago? I have peace of mind, and I trust that Jehovah will fulfill all my heart's desires in the future.
So this lady dropped out of school to fully serve Jehovah, because in this religion you can't do both at the same time. And instead of using her talents to praise Jehovah in front of thousands of people, or potentially millions, she instead wastes her beautiful voice repeating pre-recorded hymns in the Kingdom Hall. Yippee!
Hip hip! Boo! Hip hip! Boo!
But what if serving Jehovah is not for you? Do you think you're missing out on something great by serving Big J?
Some feel that serving Jehovah involves too much sacrifice. If you are young, do you feel that you may be losing out on something if you serve Jehovah? One young brother named Gene says, I felt that being one of Jehovah's Witnesses was restrictive. It seemed that many of the kids I grew up with enjoyed things like partying, dating, or playing violent video games, while I had to spend my time at meetings and in the ministry. How did this thinking affect Gene? I started living a double life, he says, and for a while I had fun. But it didn't bring me any lasting happiness. I began to think about the Bible truths I had chosen to ignore, and decided to serve Jehovah wholeheartedly. Ever since then, it seems that Jehovah has responded to every one of my prayers.
So we get this young man, Gene, who has been trained since he was a child to reject the worldly pleasures of partying, dating, and playing violent video games. Now when curiosity wins him over and he starts doing these things, of course, he's gonna feel guilty and unhappy afterwards because it goes against his indoctrination. So to deal with the cognitive dissonance, Gene had to indoctrinate himself even more and convince himself that the sovereign of the universe has responded to every single one of his prayers. What evidence does he present for this?
0! That means it's nothing!
What a shit show. Article 2 tells us how to draw close to Jehovah. You already know the basics. Read your Watchtower, pray, meditate, read your Watchtower again. But you know what contributes more to people staying in this religion than keeping close to your Father in the sky? Well, staying close to your fellow believers, of course. That's why Watchtower kept hammering on and on about attending in-person meetings, because being indoctrinated through a computer screen is just not enough. You have to be there in person to experience all the conditional smiles, and so you can be swayed by the emotional music and cookie-cutter interviews. You know by now, a common tactic used by high-control religions is called love bombing, and paragraph 5 describes it to a T.
Some who attend a meeting for the first time are deeply impressed by the love we have for one another. On that basis alone, they may conclude that they have found the truth. Jesus said, "By this all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love among yourselves." John 13:35. Consider the experience of Chaitra, a university student who was studying with Jehovah's Witnesses. She accepted an invitation to attend a regional convention. After attending the first day in person, she told her Bible teacher, "I have never been hugged by my parents, but at your convention, I received 52 hugs in just one day. I felt Jehovah's love through this spiritual family. I want to be part of that family." Chaitra continued to progress and got baptized in 2024. Yes, when new ones see our fine works, including the love we have for one another, they are often moved to serve Jehovah.
So this is how love bombing works. You take an emotionally vulnerable person, in this case a woman who seems to have been starved of affection, and then you bombard her with a sudden explosion of hugs and pleasantries. She attributed this warm display of human affection with God himself. And how could you not when you never received even a hug from your parents? 52 hugs in the same day would be nothing short of divine. Many Jehovah's Witness converts have joined this religion because they found a sense of community in a hostile world. And it's fascinating because even after this new convert gains more experience in the religion and starts becoming aware of the conditional nature of this brotherly love, he will still be encouraged to look back on nostalgia on the first time attending a kingdom hall or a convention. And these emotional memories can be very powerful in overriding any doubts that may surface once they see the reality of this religion. It's like looking back at the past through rose-colored lenses. The picture for paragraph 5 shows us this lady looking back on the warm hugs she received in the convention. And it always cracks me up seeing people with beards because just like 2 years ago, this poor brother would have received like a lot of judgment from his fellow believers and wouldn't have been able to serve as an elder. So yeah, how times have changed, right?
See how wise Jehovah is?
Now, paragraph 8 comes out with a really bold statement.
The global unity we enjoy is a miracle. Jehovah makes it possible despite our imperfections. The Bible says that we are taught by God to love one another. 1 Thessalonians 4:9. In other words, through the scriptures, Jehovah tells us exactly what we need to do in order to draw closer to one another. We can be taught by God by carefully examining his teachings and applying them. And that is exactly what Jehovah's Witnesses strive to do.
So, what exactly about this global unity of JWs proves divine intervention? That's what a miracle is, right? Divine intervention of God. So if a certain degree of cohesiveness in a group is evidence of a miracle, then we can say that the Catholic Church is an even bigger miracle from God because you got 1 billion people all around the world coming under the authority of Rome. You can also go to any Catholic church around the world and you will probably be received quite warmly. Maybe not with the same level of uncanny love bombing as in a kingdom hall, but still warmly. But Jehovah's Witnesses would never admit that the Catholic Church is a miracle from God. And the truth is, there's nothing particularly outstanding about the unity you see in the JW religion. It's just another club. If you accept the dogma of the group and submit to the authority of the governing body, you gain access to the group and you're treated with love. But if you don't, if you step out of line ever so slightly, if you oppose the teachings set forth by the leaders, this facade of unity falls apart immediately. And Watchtower proves this themselves in paragraph 13.
The congregation is made up of all sorts of people from a variety of backgrounds. 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 3 and 4. If we are not careful, these differences could create divisions in areas of personal choice, such as dress and grooming, healthcare, or entertainment. Because God has taught us to love one another, we must be careful not to promote our personal choices as being better than those of others.
There you have it, plain as day. Believers are united worldwide, not only because they love God and their neighbors, all religions claim the same thing, but because they're all subjected to more or less the same rules. Sure, there's some freedom when it comes to regional dress and grooming, which makes the organization seem incredibly diverse from the outside, but once you're inside, everyone is expected to behave in the same way. All of these colorful individuals will be subject to the same harsh rules and discipline in case they decide to voice their opinions against the religion. So of course they're gonna be united. Anyone who steps out of line is immediately removed from the congregation. And the last line is especially ironic. We must be careful to not promote our personal choices as being better than those of others. Which is exactly what the governing body has done. They did it before with their ban on beards and female dress pants, and they still do it today with their ban on holidays and practices that are never condemned in the Bible. Watchtower is basically saying, don't impose your opinions on others because we're the only ones who can do that for you. Paragraph 15 notes that in the past years, some inactive JWs have returned to the congregation. What convinced them to return?
We can also prevent divisions in the congregation by striving to be refreshing and upbuilding to others at all times. In recent times, a number of people who were inactive or who were removed from the congregation have returned. We warmly welcome them. Note what happened to one sister who returned to the Kingdom Hall after being inactive for 10 years. She said, "I was greeted with smiles and handshakes." How did those simple kindnesses affect her? She says, "It made me feel that Jehovah's hand was guiding me back to happiness."
Smiles and handshakes. No mention of research, personal conviction, not a lick of evidence that this is the one true religion. All it took was the same superficial shows of affection to convince this person to return. She felt Jehovah's hands guiding her. A sentiment you can apply to anything. Because today, I felt Jehovah's hand guide me towards my fridge, and his spirit gave me the strength to make myself a sandwich. What, you're gonna tell me that sandwich was not a miracle from God? That's something Satan would say. You have no way to prove otherwise. So no, in my humble opinion, the unity among Jehovah's Witnesses is nothing special. Most of the individuals that comprise the organization are good human beings. They will treat you kindly, but their international unity is mostly a result of the direct obedience of guidelines, not from a genuine desire to integrate with people who are different from you. So yeah, I'm not impressed, Watchtower.
What a disappointment.
In the next article, Watchtower gives us more evidence that this is God's one true religion because they participate in disaster aid, which is commendable. I'm glad they do. But then again, there's many organizations that provide even more charity and relief work, and not only to members of their own faith. But of course, Watchtower will use these disasters as opportunities to fly in one of their leaders and do a little photo shoot. The governing body is so humble. Just look at Gak Flegel walking among the commoners and providing some aid. He probably lifted like one box and then called it a day. Very, very impressive. Please send us your money. And don't forget, the governing body loves you.
We on the governing body love you all.
We love you.
And yeah, that's everything I wanted to comment on this Watchtower, guys. Fear-mongering on apostates, claims of miracles, sabotaging your dreams for Jehovah. This study had it all. And please let me know the moment you lost the cringe challenge because, I love reading your comments. I'm currently working on a movie rebuttal for the movie These Words Must Be on Your Heart. Do you remember that film? I'm also almost finished with my first video on Islam, this time for real. It's on the Alawite religion, so keep on the lookout for that. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Take it easy, have a wonderful day, and stay away from the tower.
Goodbye.